Hey there everybody, Decaff here from YSFlight and today we are going to make our Google Sketchup to YSFlight model no longer a Google Sketchup model. It's going to be 100% a YSFlight model by the end of today. But that doesn't mean that our work is done. Far be it. Once we finish this video, we still have a lot of assembly, animation, and modification work to do. But this is going to finish up our process today. One of the things that we've done is smoothed everything out, gotten most, if not all of our various pieces all set and ready. But there's a couple last things that we want to talk about, and that is our landing gear. Specifically with this model, the landing gear bay, because the landing gear itself we'll put in at a later point in time when we're dealing with all the animations. But for right now, we're trying to just get the very basic part of the model all set and ready to go. So as you can see, I've already got some of the landing gear stuff all set up, and we have two pieces there that you can see. And if I can squeeze in here in the wireframe mode, we can actually get all of it. There we go. And now that is all set and ready to go. So how do we actually go ahead and make this? Well, if we go in here to the solid view mode, go in edit mode, and looking right here, we have a nice little cutout already set up for us. This was in the original model. You might find that this is sometimes present in some of your models. Not always going to happen, but in this case, luckily enough, that's what was there. So first we're going to separate this guy out, and then we are going to go in with the edge tool and select all the edges that we can see here. And we're doing this so that we can create the bay for the or the well anyway for the landing gear. And we're also going to separate that guy out. So now we just have these here. We're going to go into edit mode, press E to extrude, and we're going to extrude along the y-axis basically, and just go out some distance. And then we're going to hit S, Y, very important to hit the Y, 0, and that makes this nice and flush. So now we can go in here, oops, there we go, and just start adding in all the various pieces that we're going to need to have just to fill this in. And the nice thing about these wells that we are making is that they don't have to be smooth. The shading doesn't have to be anywhere perfect on this, because these are going to be painted black, absolutely black. And if we paint this black, and I can get this into the texture view mode, there we go. And if we look just right here, ignoring the messed up normals anywhere else, notice that we can't see any change in the color. We can't tell anything in there. Whenever you don't want to show some details, you just go ahead and use black, and it completely messes up people's depth perception with YSFlight. So we're going to go ahead and flip all these normals around, get them all lined up so that this is all ready to go. Flip normals, there we go. Okay, so now we have our landing gear bay all set, but now we need to get the landing gear door covers. So here we have all of these guys. One thing that we're going to need to do first is fix this little mistake there, merge that over there, merge last, there we go. Now we have a solid piece, and that's going to save us some headaches later on. So in edit mode, we are going to just hit E, region, and just come out normal to the face of the model. And we don't have to come out very far. And don't worry about any of the weird shading things, because what we're going to do now in edit mode is select all these edges and separate them out. And ideally right now we're looking to separate them into the individual pieces that they're going to be eventually. So like for example, what I have selected here would be going for the back door, which is basically from this curved line all the way back. So that's separated out. Then we're going to have these guys here, and that guy going to be for the door from basically here to the curved part. And then we just have these guys back here. Whoops. There we go. And we're not going to bother making these smooth. We are going to make them solid because it doesn't really matter. And it's a pain in the neck to try to get these all set. So now we are going to separate this guy. Boom. One piece separated out. Other piece separated out. And now we can start merging these guys together. So we're going to merge these two pieces together. We are going to merge, there we go, those two pieces together. We'll see what that is. There we go. So we're almost set. We just have to finish up a couple pieces here, and that specifically is these end pieces right here. So what I'm going to do is take those, separate them out, and now that I have that guy there, have that, duplicate it, and now I can go in and merge them to the right pieces, just like so. And same up here, we're going to be separating those guys, make a face, duplicate that in object mode, let's see, there we go, merge that and merge that. So now we have all of our landing gear all set up. Physically they are as they should be, and now we can get ready to export our model. So a couple quick things before we finish up exporting it. One thing I want to show here is that I've merged in the gear bay to this side. I'm also going to merge in the bay for our flaps there, just so that everything is all set and together. You can do this separately and everything like that, but I prefer to merge them together just because it saves a lot of time with exportation. So we're going to go in to wireframe mode, find all of our lovely pieces, merge. There we go, there's one piece all together. And let's take a look at the flaps, because in here we have some interesting pieces. If I were to isolate this, this is not the greatest because it's angled, and the actual model is not angled. The flap itself, it doesn't angle like this. So what I want to do is get rid of that, and instead we're going to make our own. So in here we're going to go into solid just so it's less confusing to look at, and we're going to select the edges here, and we're going to get all of these guys and do a very similar process to what we did for the landing gear main well, and we're going to double check that that's what we want. That looks about right, so we'll separate that, and we're going to delete that guy because that's part of the thing we're trying to get rid of. There we go. So now in edit mode we're going to extrude out, and that looks like it'll be okay. And we don't have to be super fancy with this guy because it's also going to be painted black. As long as the normals are correct, we will be okay. Flip normals, and we look good there. So we're going to paint this guy real quick. and we're going to merge it with the rest of the fuselage. And we'll just double check that it's there, and it is. So what we can do here is save some time. We're going to duplicate, move it to the other side. If I can get there, there we go. And scale Y-1. And now that is all set there. Verify that the normals are correct. And obviously they are not, so we're going to flip those. And here we are. Here is our fuselage all set and ready to go. Now this saves a lot of time later on when we're trying to get all these guys back together. And the nice thing is everything's all together. We can go in and move these gear bays around, change how deep they go, things like that. So now we are ready to export our model. One of the things that we want to do before we begin exporting all the little pieces is first set up a folder. So what you want to do is set up a folder system where you can just dump all of these files into one particular folder. I recommend you save this file into that folder, and then as you export, it'll automatically try to go into that folder. So let me set that up and we'll be right back. Okay, and here we are back again. So here I have our model. Let me just go to the quick export setup here. So there's the model, and it's in a folder called export files. So we can now put all of our files in here. So what we want to do is start with some of the bigger things first. We'll start with the fuselage. So we'll do file, export, SRF, and we're going to name this fuselage. And we don't want caps, that's annoying. We want to name these things very specific names so that they're not going to get in our way. We'll know exactly what we are, and when we're looking at a big long list of things, very straightforward. Okay, I need the fuselage. Boom, here it is, all done. So before we move on to the next piece, we're going to move this guy to layer number 2. We're going to hide it from our current view. We're going to press M2, enter. And now that hides it so that it's not blocking our vision. We're going to do the same thing with the tail. We're going to go file, export, surf, and we're going to name this tail, or V-tail actually, to indicate vertical tail. Now, on some aircraft, like civilian ones, you can use H-tail for a horizontal tail. Those little naming convention sort of things will end up going a long way. Now, let's say, for example, right here, we see, well, this was supposed to be with the tail. Oh no, what are we going to do? Well, not to fear, because we can just overwrite that file. What I'm going to do here, though, is fix up our shading issues by just separating this guy off. Same over here. Boom, boom, boom. Separated, and now we're merging all these pieces back together. One nice happy family. And now we can export this again. Export, SRF. And now what we can do to get the name, rather than retyping the name, we can just click V-tail and export the SRF model, and it will completely overwrite it. And once again, we're going to move this guy over, and we'll come back once I have the rest of these exported. This is going to take a while, so I'm just going to skip forward. Okay, now I've got all of the pieces exported into the SRF format, and this is what I have left, nothing. But if I go to the second layer, I see everything in here. And I'd like to mention a few things before we begin importing all of these pieces into a new file. First things first, as I'm exporting all the little pieces, there are some things that I can merge into more. Like, for example, these lights, I can do that on either side. Whenever I see things that I can merge together to make my life easier, I do so. I don't want to have to be repeating myself a whole number of times. Another thing is this little backing piece for all the flaps and movable control surfaces in the wing. I'll keep those as a separate piece altogether, because having them as individual pieces just doesn't make any sense. So now that we have everything exported, we can go ahead and save this file, and let's take a look at all the pieces that I have, and we'll talk about some names. Right here you can see I have about 30 or 40 pieces, and one of the things that is common in all of these guys is that if there is something that is specific to the right side or the left side, I come out and say that first, because I want to know exactly which side I'm on, what I'm working with. Another thing, no spaces in these names, none, underscores, or no spaces in between the words that I'm trying to use. Additionally, I don't want these to be very, very long. I want them under about 20 characters or so. So the shorter, more concise ways that I can say this, the better. Now, some models have a lot of numbers for each of these different pieces, and to me that just doesn't make sense. They might have used a system that made sense to them, but to me, I want actual names on these files. So let's talk about what we're going to do to import this. Okay, we are back, and now I have my cedar animations inside of Blender so that I can just bring in my SRF files and deal with them and animate them. One of the things that I'm looking to get out of this is, number one, several key animations. First, I'd like to get my landing gear. That's all this mess back here. I physically want those meshes available to me and those animations available to me. I may reconfigure those animations and completely remake them, but I want to have that available to me right now. The other thing is the tail. Because this model, the tail planes act as both roll and pitch controls, they have some interesting features as we cycle through the animations here that you can see. So I want those brought over. So what I'm going to do is recycle those animations. So now that we have this all set up, you're going to want to go ahead and import all the various SRF files, and I will go ahead and do that and get back to you in just a couple minutes. Alright, we got everything into Blender successfully from what I can see. So now what we're going to do is just quickly go through these guys, tap into edit mode, tap out back to object mode, just so that we can see everything in the shaded mode that we so like. And we gotta get rid of excess things that I might have happened to, well, maybe import twice, nothing major. Yeah, we want to get rid of those at this point right now. We don't want anything extra in here. We want things just the way we like it. Come on, there we go. And we still have a few more things left. Okay, that looks pretty good. I think we got almost everything except inside the cockpit, but we're not going to worry about that for right now. So now we are ready to animate, and I recommend trying to animate everything first and then going and painting, because once we start painting things, we're going to be starting to mess up all of our normals and things like that. I think it's better to go through, animate everything, get it right, so that we basically have a blank, and then we can paint up to a, well, sort of general blank. What I mean by that is basically we have an initial animation set up where we get all the animations ironed out, we put all the time and effort in there, and then we go in and paint. So if something messed up in the animations, we didn't waste all of our time trying to paint it correctly. We have, well, just this import that's going on. So one thing that I highly recommend you guys do is, if you are working on a model that has an equivalent in YSFlight, to take a look at what they have. So for example, I'm going to be very curious to see what kind of deflection the flaps have on the wings, the ailerons, those kinds of things. Look at real life pictures, look at models from YSFlight, try to figure out how many degrees those things go down, and we will be talking all about that kind of stuff and more in the next video when we start animating this. So congratulations, we now have a model in YSFlight. Well, not quite in YSFlight, we're getting it there, but it's no longer a Google SketchUp model. Because we went through and did all the SRF exports and imports, This is completely in the YSFlight data format. So we are well on our way. Congratulations. If you have any questions about this video or what we've talked about here, or if you are struggling a little bit and need some help, I'd be happy to talk to you about that. Go ahead and throw me a comment down below, send me a private message on YSFlight headquarters, or send me a post in one of my forums where I talk about these kinds of things. So until next time, have fun.